we talked about this a little bit before. So first of all, AI did not spontaneously generate 6 to 8 weeks ago. I actually just wrote a post on this. Generative AI dates back to the 1950s and 60s, depending on who you're looking at and what they did. And NLP, or machine learning and natural language processing, started in the 1970s at DARPA. The problem was at the time that computers were not sophisticated enough to be able to parse the way that we needed to. And also we had to find a way to deal with human language, because that's why it failed originally, because of the idioms and the expressions and the way they use things. It's all math, the statistical probability correlations to make sense. We're at an inflection point. Generative AI in the past year has made some strides due to being able to tag better, being able to, understand data better, but it's not new. And it's iterative, like any technology is iterative. So that's the first part. And the second part is AI is a category, not a thing. You're either using machine learning, natural language processing, that's visual, generative AI. There's a lot of different categories, and they're all being used right now by different companies to great effect. And I think it's the proper application of the right kind of AI, I call it a flavor, to your data, and then your goal that you have to, decide when you're game boarding it and you're thinking about how to do it. It's the data. Where did the data come from? How are you going to use the data? How are you going to use the data in AI? And I'm separating those intentionally because people seem to have a notion that data and AI are one thing, and they're not. It's data sets, or LLMs, that have propelled generative AI in the last year to be as good as it is. And data sets have their own, you have to go through the whole thing. You have to go through where did the data come from? Do I own it? How can I use it? Does a third party have rights? You have to check all of those. Are there contracts where I'm supposed to give that data back if they terminate? If so, how am I going to do that? All of those things are not AI. It's just data. It's big data. We've all been working with big data for decades. Now you add AI to that, and you have to ask those questions again, only you're asking them, slightly differently. And you're asking also about security, privacy, intellectual property, contract law again, and data ownership and use. So they overlap on a Venn diagram, but they're two very different things. And I haven't seen a lot of people cotton on to that. I get more of the feeling, and this was the joke that I made, that people think AI is magical pixie dust that you can just sprinkle on something and it gives you a 10x in your valuation. That's not the case. And also, it's not the case that it's fantastic and it's going to save the world and do everything for us. It's also not the case of the opposite, that it's going to cause the robot apocalypse and everyone's going to be replaced and people aren't going to have a job again. That is very, very black and white. This is not black and white technology. It is gray. All of your answers are in the gray.